This episode of Vibrant Living is brought to you by Link Transit. Take that first step. Learn how to ride. And Blossom Valley, a senior lifestyle community. Join our Blossom Valley family and experience a fulfilling, carefree senior lifestyle.
Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center, and today I'm with Bob Clarke. Bob has been doing seminars, classes on mobile devices since 2017, actually. Of course, we haven't been doing them recently. I think when we closed last winter, he was just getting geared up to get started again, but we didn't get quite there. But the classes have been extremely popular among seniors who get mobile devices. We used to call them cell phones. I guess they still are, but they also have a lot of other things now. Tell us a little more about your business, the zeros and ones.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks, Dave, for having me here. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here, and it's been fun to work with the Senior Center as well. One of the reasons that I started Zeros and Ones, which is kind of a play on computer words, is that I saw people that were overwhelmed with their devices. How do I do this? I've got this frustrating device in my hand. I don't know how to work with it. And so I wanted to give them a positive experience. And by doing that, it's a matter of learning how to use their device. And so with the Senior Center, we had a nice group setting where we could give out some general information. Well, then what do you do if someone has a very specific question? Well, people would call me, we'd set up an appointment, I'd go to their home, and for 1 or 2 hours, we'd sit down and answer their specific questions. And the end goal was, of course, is that when we're done, they can say, oh, wow, that's really cool. Thank you, and I'll keep learning some more about it. And so when they used their devices, they were very excited. Unfortunately, in March, that kind of all got disrupted and temporarily discontinued the home visits of helping people as well as coming to the Senior Center for the classes. But I'm anxious to get back into at the appropriate time, although that particular date hasn't been determined yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. I still see a few people running around with flip phones. Yeah, I think a lot of seniors are very hesitant about moving on to the newer technologies. But could you just talk a little bit about what you're seeing with regard to changing technology?
Yeah. Well, there's been some big changes. One of the things that I have is I have my HP 41CV calculator I bought in 1981. 40 years later, I'm still using this device. It does some phenomenal math problems, okay? But you can't watch movies on it. You can't email, you can't text. There's just a whole bunch of things you can't do. So that's where this comes in, is this little device here. Allows me to do all those things that I can't do with my calculator. With that being said, I think it's important to recognize that the technology segment has always changed, and it's going to always keep changing, yeah. And it just keeps changing every day, and sometimes by seconds. Now, the big thing I think that's happening is the rate at which it's changing. It's happening much faster than before. And everybody worldwide has had to adapt this year, and last year as well, had to adapt to this rapid change with it. I've seen families and individuals and churches and businesses all have to say, wow, how do I take this device here and be able to use it to still stay connected? And look at the Senior Center here, how much you've had to adapt in the last year with the technology.
It's interesting you bring up the calculator because our thrift store has had 2 calculators back there that they use for transactions. And I don't know how old they are. They're probably 10 or 15 years old. And you cannot buy anything like that. And of course, we just need something simple, nothing fancy, with big keys that you can read, yeah. Are really important. And so we've been looking around and there's nothing in town, and we've gotten online, and we're not even sure that we can come close to replacing those old.
Right.
And then, of course, we have a few people back there that are working that don't have mobile devices where they have a calculator on the device.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're dealing with some of that and a lot of other things too with regard to technology. But so what you know, we keep hearing about the new iPhones every so often. Sometimes you wonder, is that just a marketing thing? They could sell more phones, or is it really because we need, instead of a 10, now we got to go to 11 or 12, you know? What is the current state right now, today, of technology?
Well, that's a good question. And one of the things that's happening, I think fiber has really been the big story recently, is getting fiber. And of course, the big story that's happening recently is all the advertisements are about 5G. And I like to think of it as when we started out with these computers, we had a tiny little path that ran through the forest. But as we got better with the computers, we went to gravel roads, then we went to paved roads, and then we went to the 2-lane highway. Well, now we went to the interstate. Well, with 5G, we're on the superhighway that we can really travel. It's almost like being on the Autobahn, where you can travel at a very high speed and cover a lot of distance. That's all fine and dandy, and as our demand has increased for remote communications, the highway's starting to fill up even at 5G, you know, with it. So what's interesting that even 6G is being developed, but already implemented in some countries as well. So it will always be changing and always getting bigger and better and faster and more reliable. With that being said, however, there's still an advantage to being in person. As an example, I could write a 500-page manual about how to use your device. It could take you years to read through it. Or if you just tell me, how do I do this? And I show you, push this button, then this button, and then this button, and you're done. And now you're happy you can have that positive experience.
Hopefully, once we get reopened up, we'll get your classes going as soon as we can.
Very good. Well, thanks for your time and the opportunity to be here today. Appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Bellinger with Blossom Valley Assisted Living, and I'm here to talk to you about senior education. As we grow older, we discover more health needs, and sometimes getting educated can be overwhelming and downright scary, especially if it's a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. Here at Blossom Valley, we aim to help those in need as well as their families and friends, knowing the journey is half the battle and that we are here to help. From general education events through our Blossoms Academy to one-on-one education, we strive to bring awareness, education, and acceptance of Alzheimer's and other related dementias to the Wenatchee and surrounding valley. If you or your loved one, family member, or friend is in need of any further education, please don't hesitate to reach out and call us today at 667-0990.
Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center. Today I'm with one of our members, Don Truscott, and we're going to chat about a few things where Don has been involved with the Senior Center. Tell us a little bit about how it is that you wound up coming to the Senior Center and what you do here on a regular basis. I believe I see you every single day that we're open for lunch.
You do.
I don't know that you miss more than 2 or 3 lunches. So tell us a little bit more about that.
To begin with, Dave, I have never been one to cook very much. My wife was the cook in our family, and so when she passed away, it kind of threw a monkey wrench into my lunches and so forth. And so I met a lady, Erna Geiger, who is a member here too, and she convinced me to come over and have lunch one day. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And so her sister was here from California too. So the three of us went ahead and came over, and oh boy, the meal was tremendous, and the company was, just great. So I started talking to people I'd never met in my life, and I really enjoyed it. And so from that time on, I was hooked. I said to Erna, I said, boy, I'm going to continue to come, and I have. And like you said, I very rarely ever miss a time. But since we've been closed, it's been really tough. It's been really good here as far as the volunteer people. They've just been tremendous with their meals and things like this. So I've missed the company, but the meals are still coming. So that's really nice, and I really do enjoy it.
Tell us a little more about that. You said the meals are still coming. I think you're participating in the frozen meal program.
I am.
Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. It's been so good. They deliver meals to me on Wednesday around 11:30 in the morning, and they deliver 7 of them.
I noticed you brought an electronic device with you today. We don't see a lot of that at the senior center, but we're seeing more and more of it. You want to talk just a little bit about why you have that and what you use it for, and I think it's just it's an iPad, right?
It's an iPad.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
like I say, we're seeing more and more people using those. I think a lot of the grandparents have been forced into staying connected with their grandkids through the use of these, and I think that's what you're doing with it. You want to just talk a little bit about
I
it?
sure will. Well, like I mentioned before, when I retired from teaching in 1982, the computers were coming into the schools, and so I missed all that. And I don't know that I felt that I had missed an awful lot, but a 3 years ago, my kids said, "Dad, you need to get an iPad." And I said, "Well, what for?" "Well, we can do a lot of things on that iPad. You can visit with your grandkids and your great-grandkids." And so I said, "Okay, well, let's try it." So we went over and bought this one. And I'll have to admit that at first, I wasn't really turned on too much. In fact, it sat for quite a while before I even did much with it. But the more I have a granddaughter that's really good at this. So if I have any problems, she's right there to help. And she said, "Grandpa, don't worry about it. Just start pushing buttons and it'll all come out and you'll be fine." So anyway, I use it now quite a bit. I FaceTime my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids. I watch the news a lot on it. Almost every morning now, I turn it on and I check the news to see what it is. And I'm also on Google, so that's helped me. And I'm getting better at it. I'll have to admit it. I was pretty not for sure what I was doing. But the more I use it, the better I'm getting at it. And gosh, I don't know what I'd do without it right now. It's just been that much of a help to me.
So you've been able to use it on FaceTime and Zoom calls
Sure have.
with your family to stay connected?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
I did physical therapy. In fact, I do now and then again, but I met a gal that was really good over at Confluence Health, and she helped me so much with a lot of exercises that I was doing at home. Well, darn if she didn't move to Montana. So that kind of made me feel bad, but I've kept in touch with her on my iPad, and it's been really nice. She always asks me, "How you doing? Are you still doing your exercises?" And yes, I am. But if I didn't have this, I don't know how I'd kept up with her.
Yeah,
So-
I don't have an iPad. I got a computer. I use that quite a bit. I actually used my smartphone last night. It's an iPhone, and I watched the local TV news, and I don't get that station on my Dish network. They don't have that offered on the satellite networks.
Oh, sure.
You have to have cable TV or access to the internet. But if you got a smartphone, you can watch the news right there on your smartphone, and it comes in crystal clear, a little smaller, of course.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you can hear what they're talking about, and it's just a very convenient way to stay, up to what
Sure.
all the news is.
Yeah.
So I think more often now than ever before, people being at home,
Yeah,
without
that's right.
many things
Yeah.
to do, are tending to venture into these devices, and I think Don really hit on it. It's not just the meals to eat here; it's the social aspect of it.
Sure is.
Getting together with friends
Yeah.
and laughing a little bit
That's
and
right.
talking to other folks.
Yeah.
It's very meaningful. And so once again, I want to thank you for joining me
That's
today,
all
Don.
right. I'm
And-
very happy to do it.
Take care.
Okay, you
All right.
bet.
Dave Tosch, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center Executive Director. And today I am with Melissa O'Dell, and we're going to talk about yoga. Before we get into that, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we do have an exercise program on NCWLIFE TV. It's called Vibrant Motion. Many of you have probably already tuned into it. And it consists of aerobics and Tai Chi, but we want to branch out a little bit. And so I'm hopeful that Melissa is going to help us out, maybe give us a few ideas about how to do yoga during this time that we're closed. And she does live in our community. She works for the Wenatchee School District and has done some yoga in our community with members of our community. I guess last summer after we were closed down, you went up to the Peshastin Library and did some outdoor yoga. But you've also done yoga with the YMCA, and then the library also was something, and that's how we found out about you, I guess. Was you helping the library out. So if you could, Melissa, tell us a little bit about your background with yoga, how you became certified, and what you're doing right now in your own words.
Sure. So I was lucky enough to take a introductory yoga class at a local gym many years ago, which spurred my interest in getting my 200-hour yoga teacher training. So I moved to Portland and I did a year-long program there. And then recently I did my 300-hour yoga teacher training, and which helped me to get a little bit more knowledge in yoga. And then I was teaching at the YMCA for a year, an all levels class, more of a gentle yoga class at nighttime. And then also at Peshastin Library, we did an outside, which was also an all levels yoga class once a month. So it was really great for community members who maybe have never experienced yoga to be able to get a little bit of practice in. And then due to COVID, all that teaching in person kind of stopped. So I've started my own YouTube channel with different forms of yoga. There's chair yoga. There's also short yoga stints if you need a little bit of energy or a little break in your day. So
The senior center, before we closed, had a couple yoga programs offered. We had a Tuesday evening yoga with a volunteer that led that group, and then Marjorie McIntosh was our leader of our daytime yoga, and they met several days a week. And of course, right now, we can't do any of that. And I know that yoga has become a pretty popular, important exercise regimen. Can you tell us some of the benefits that seniors would get out of participating in yoga?
I think especially right now, since we are at home and maybe our stress levels are a little bit high, I think yoga is a really great place to incorporate body awareness, learning how to connect with your breath. And yoga is really great for increasing focus and kind of allowing yourself to relax, as well as working on balance and working on that, building up your core. Maybe if you're sedentary and not moving as much, yoga is a really great start to kind of slowly begin to build flexibility and strength with your body.
Well, I do know, again, that yoga became very popular here at the Senior Center just by looking at the numbers of people participating. And so I can only imagine that those have been able to tune in to the NCWLIFE programming are thinking, well, you know, is there a mechanism that I can find to participate, maybe interactive with a YouTube video or a recording somewhere? Can you offer some thoughts on how they might go about that?
Yeah, so I did, in partnership with the NCW libraries, I did transition to teaching yoga online, which you can find on NCW Life. And those are about 15 to 20 minute little videos. And feel free to do 5 minutes or 10 minutes or all of the video. That's a great place to start.
Well, I've already mentioned the fact that we're doing aerobics and Tai Chi on our Vibrant Motion programming. We're also looking into the idea of offering yoga. And you might be a key component in that, because obviously we're going to need a leader. And you've already done some things on that are on YouTube, some recordings. And can you talk just a little bit more about how we might get that done and get that on the program?
Sure. So I guess I'll kind of talk about my philosophy of yoga. I feel that yoga is for everybody, and there are many adaptations that you can do. So, for example, down dog can be done in the traditional form with your feet connected to the mat as long as your hands, but you can also use a wall or a chair. So it's really for all abilities and all bodies. So it's a great way to practice and get yourself moving.
Okay. And so this would be something where they might be able to tune in and watch on our TV program, and you would be doing yoga with some background music, and then they could at home kind of participate with that. Is that kind of what we're thinking?
Yeah, and I think a great thing is that you know, you can do this at home, so you can do this in the privacy of your own home. And it's really great to be able to maybe have a chair or a towel if you don't have a yoga mat.
So yes, we're looking at getting some yoga on our programming. I think you could really help us with that. Obviously, we're just in talks today. We just met you, as a matter of fact. But I think you're someone that could do a great job for us. You're certified. You know yoga pretty well. You've already done some yoga in our community with others. And so we're really looking forward to a good working relationship, and maybe we'll get this on the air here sometime in the spring, I would hope, and people can participate at home. We're also looking into the idea of having a small group of seniors that you work with, you know, on the video, and that might work out as well. So, any last thoughts that you have before we conclude the video?
I appreciate talking with you today, and I look forward to possibly working with you and teaching yoga to people in their homes.